Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. As you can tell, I dyed my hair. It was time for a little bit of a change, so I cut off 7 inches and I got an ashy blonde balayage with a money piece, and I really like it. I think it's super cute and I'm still getting used to it. So every video from here on out will be with this hair. Let me know, what do you think? For today's video, we are going to be doing an old-fashioned Q&A. Here I am in front of my books. I'm not in my pajamas like I typically am for my Q&As, but that's because I'm filming this at 2 p.m. and I've got to go back to work after. But this Q&A is going to be a mixture of personal questions for me as well as people asking for advice. So we're going to kind of have a mixture of everything. I don't even think I did my usual intro. If you're new here, hi, my name is Kailin and I post new videos every single week, or at least I try to. And I post videos mainly about eating disorder recovery and intuitive eating. So if that's something that you're interested in, then come join the family. We'd love to have you here. So we're going to jump on into this Q&A and we're going to start off with a banger, okay? And this one is my thoughts on body positivity versus body neutrality. This is a loaded question, and it's a loaded question mainly because of the way body positivity has been co-opted by thin white women a lot of the time. But let's talk a little bit about what body positivity is and what body neutrality / like body acceptance is. So first things first, I don't identify at all as a body positive creator. In the past, probably like 4 years ago, before I knew what body positivity was, on Instagram I was using that hashtag, but all of those posts have been archived since I've learned what body positivity actually is. And so the origins of body positivity are not like in the last 10 years or anything like that. Of course, we've seen a huge increase in body positive creators, and we've seen some amazing ones, and then we've seen some who completely co-opt the industry. So the body positivity movement actually dates back to the 1960s, where there was a big fat acceptance movement going on. And I feel like these days, body positivity is very much more of like a buzzword that's just thrown around willy-nilly. And I mean, the term itself, body positive, it sounds like it's for anyone, right? Like anyone can be positive about their body, but that's not what the movement is. The movement is not actually about thinking about your body positively. That's what self-love, body acceptance is for. And then there's also body neutrality, which is just feeling neutral about your body. And I feel like body positivity over time has been synonymous with self-love. And this is what I used to thought as well, which is why I think it's so important to answer this question, and also for it to be the first question, because it's not. The body positivity movement was created for folks in marginalized bodies, specifically Black fat women, people who are in disabled bodies, queer folk, etc. It is not made, specifically not made, for thin white women to sort of take and have as their own. And what I mean by this is we'll see posts on Instagram, right, of very, very thin, socially acceptable bodies who are posing, just trying to show their roles and things like that. And of course, I think that those posts have a place. I'm not saying that those posts don't have a place. But to hashtag those with body positivity feels very tone deaf to what the body positivity movement is for, or who it's for, I should say. And so if you are somebody, right, who is, again, in a thin, abled body, and you have a lot of privilege, which usually comes with white skin, this movement is not for you. And so I guess my take on it is, if you're preaching body positivity, just make sure that it's actually for you. And if it's not, again, it doesn't mean that you can't think positively about your body. That's, again, body positivity is not synonymous for self-love. You can still appreciate your body, right? The things that it can do for you. You can appreciate your body in different stages, like when you're bloated or when you are not, or when you gain weight, etc. And that's more body acceptance. So I feel like this was a super long-winded answer. But if you're a little bit on the fence of like, what is body positivity? Should I be body neutral? Body neutrality is kind of like a stepping stone to body acceptance, in my opinion. And so I would just do more research on body positivity in general, as well as fat phobia and racism. There's a great book. Do I have it on my bookshelf? Let me check. This book is great. It's by Sabrina Strings, and it's called Fearing the Black Body, The Racial Origins of Fat Phobia. It is quite dense, so keep that in mind. Even though it's like a thin book, there's a lot of information in here, but it's a lot of helpful information. So I'd recommend this. So the next question is if I have any advice for people who have a low income or people who try to heavily budget and how they can move forward with intuitive eating. And I just quickly want to say that it is absolutely a privilege to honor all of your cravings whenever you have them 24/7 all the time. That's a privilege, and that goes without saying. And if anybody ever makes you feel like you're doing intuitive eating in like the wrong way, that's impossible, okay? If what you're doing feels non-restrictive and right to you, then that is what counts the most when it comes to intuitive eating, right? It's how you feel and how your body feels, which is going to be different from anybody else's experience. One of the biggest things when it comes to like budgeting and low income is making things from scratch. And this is actually one of the reasons why I got so much into cooking, is because I did not grow up with a lot of money by any means. And so if I wanted cookies, for example, I had to make them from scratch, and it usually was a lot cheaper, especially if you use different ingredients. So for example, instead of butter, you could use oil for some recipes, or certain things that perhaps are less costly, especially when we're talking about canola oil or vegetable oil. So making things from scratch and prioritizing the things that you really, really enjoy, like as convenience foods or things that maybe cost a little bit more money, would be one of my top tips, right? So for example, maybe you don't mind making cookies from scratch, but maybe, you know, making salad dressing from scratch is really not something that ever hits the spot. Then we know that buying that salad dressing would be more important because we have the ability to make those cookies at home, if that makes sense. And of course, this is an added barrier and a stress in your life, but the whole goal is to just try your absolute best with any limitation that you have. Something else that can really help is just figuring out how to spice up like basic things to really increase your satiety, right? So if we just have rice, be kind of plain. Some people like plain rice, and that's your thing, that's great. But maybe if we have sriracha, soy sauce on hand, teriyaki sauce, something just to put on it to really increase like how we feel about that food. Because chances are, if we're just having something like oatmeal, for example, because it's economical and cheap, but like there's nothing fun on it, you're not going to enjoy that at all. So to experiment with different flavors, different toppings, things like chocolate chips, or even adding cocoa powder into your oats or something like that can definitely be a good tip. If it's possible, I think having like the 4 basics is important. And for me, the 4 basics would be something sweet, something salty, something crunchy, and something chewy. It sounds a little bit strange, but it tends to work for me. But those 4 things might be different for you. It might be something hot, something cold, etc. So just figure what kind of cravings you typically go in between and make sure that we kind of have something on hand that's affordable to you. Buying things in bulk is super, super helpful as well. For example, if we're buying popcorn kernels like that you can make in the pan or in a popcorn machine, something like that, it's going to be so much cheaper than buying like bags of popcorn that you can microwave. And again, it's a privilege to be able to afford those things. And that's something that I know very, very deeply. And the most important thing that I would say is to be kind to yourself, right? Be kind to yourself, because if you're beating yourself up for not being able to get the thing that you want, or having to be slightly restrictive when it comes to buying, again, a different flavor maybe that you originally wanted, be kind, be gentle, see what's actually manageable for you, and just work day by day, okay? Somebody asked, what is an embarrassing moment that you can laugh at now? My friend Melanie asked this, so hi Mel. Okay, so this story, now that I tell it, like is not that embarrassing at all. It happened when I was in grade 2. And if you didn't know, I'm from Montreal, so I'm bilingual. I speak both French and English. French is a little bit questionable now that I'm out of practice. But when I was in 2nd grade, this was mortifying to me. And most of my friends have heard this story, so let's roll with it. My 2nd grade teacher decided for everyone to do a readathon, which basically you just logged the amount of books you read in 1 month, and then at the end you would get a certificate, or the people who read the most would get a certificate, something like that. To sign up for the bookathon and to register, I guess, how many books you're reading per month, you have to write your initials. And my last name starts with a K and my first name starts with a K. And when she read my initials out to the entire class to collect my certificate at the end of the bookathon, because I had read a lot, she read the certificate out as caca, because in French, the letter K is ka, right? Ka, that's the letter. And so there was 2 Ks, so it was caca, which is basically shit, essentially, or poop. And now I wouldn't care. I'd be like, that's me, I'd own it. But then I was so ashamed, and I was like, nobody can know that I'm caca. So I basically just went like this in my seat and retreated, and I was very embarrassed for a long time. And I collected my certificate after class. Now that I say it out loud, like, it's really not that embarrassing. But to be fair, I don't have too many embarrassing moments because my shame level is like, I don't have a lot of shame. I'm like very comfortable. Like, if I mess up, I can laugh at myself. That's something that I really, really love about myself, is I'm just not hard on myself at all. Like, if I trip on the sidewalk in front of many people, which I've done before, I just get up and I keep walking. Not one part of me is like, oh my God, that was so embarrassing. So I feel like there might be more embarrassing stories or things that other people would find embarrassing, but that's always the first one that comes to mind. So back to the advice. Somebody asked for advice for people who are new to intuitive eating, and there are just a couple of tips here and there. My first tip for everyone is usually to read the intuitive eating book, just so that you kind of have like groundwork and like where to work from. But something I just want to recommend too is to not try to be perfect about it, because perfectionism cannot be applied to intuitive eating. It's not like a diet where you mess up or you have to restart and there's a day one. With intuitive eating, there's days where you eat past the point of comfort, and that's okay. There are days where maybe you go too long without eating, and that's not an intuitive part either. Intuitive eating is not about being perfect. It's just about continuing to honor your body the best you can every single day, as often as you can. Another recommendation that I have is to start getting to know yourself a little bit more. When we diet, we follow food rules, which sort of closes off the rule of opportunity when it comes to like, what do I want? What sounds good? All of these things. And so start asking yourself those questions more, right? Like, what sounds good? What do I want? And these questions might be very intimidating and hard to answer at first. And so then my recommendation would be just to do with categories. So do I want something hot or cold? Do I want something sweet or savory? And go back and forth until you find what it is that you want. And the last tip that I have for you is to be gentle, especially if you're coming from a history of like dieting and like punitive exercise or punitive eating, all of these kinds of things. Intuitive eating is not going to come very naturally, and it's going to take time. So give yourself time, but throughout these days and these months and even these years, everyone takes a certain amount of time to grasp onto intuitive eating, and there's no like permanent guideline or blueprint of how long it should take. Make sure that you're being nice, please. Somebody also requested a mental health update because I had posted like a mental health update a while ago and it was rough. I was not doing okay. I'm doing a lot better. I recently started Prozac, which is an SSRI medication, and I'm also speaking to a psychologist. I actually don't know. I have to check. I'm just getting my shit in order because I feel like there was a lot sort of just piling on top of me that I didn't have the motivation to do any of it. And now I'm trying to do things in like little bits and little pieces, and it makes me feel better. And one of those things is just getting my license. I've been putting it off for so long because I have a lot of driving anxiety, but I passed my theory test and I just have the road test to pass. And it's in October because that's the only time I could book. So I'll keep you updated about that. And somebody also asked how my depression manifests. So I'm diagnosed with functioning depression, like, what is it called? Hold on, let me see what it's called. Dyspnea. I don't really know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's basically chronic functioning depression. So it has to have been for like over 2 years, and it's basically like this permanent state of depression, but I'm able to function, I'm able to work, I'm able to take care of myself, but there's just something that feels really wrong. I can feel hopeless sometimes. Insomnia also plays a role in that, which I've spoken when it comes to like my poor sleeping habits. Low energy, poor appetite. These are all things that I've been dealing with for a while. So it's been really great to sort of have a diagnosis. And the doctor that I saw also thinks that I might have ADHD, which might sort of play a role in all of this. So I'm looking to get assessed for that. But Did you guys know it costs like $2,000 to get assessed for ADHD, at least in Canada, or at least here in Quebec? What the heck? What the heck? There's a couple of people who do it for free, but they have no room for years and years. So I'm gonna try to save up and get an assessment for ADHD, and we'll see from there. So that's sort of the little mental health update. Somebody asked how to be motivated when you're not in the mood to do anything. If you're not in the mood to do anything and you don't have to do anything, don't. Rest is productive. And I know that I need to hear that sometimes, and so I'm gonna say that again. Rest is productive. It's important. And chances are, if you can't get yourself to do something, it's a sign from your body that you need to go slow, that you need to take it easy. It's difficult when we're dealing with something like work or school and things that are obligations that we have to go to. And in this case, I would recommend working in increments or chunks and just going at your own pace if you can, or taking more breaks, even if that's just like standing up, taking a walk around the office and coming back. Just give yourself time to sort of regulate. Making goals for yourself, but realistic goals can also be helpful, right? Like, I'm gonna read 5 pages, do some stretches, and then read 10 pages, for example. But those are really only for obligations. And if you don't have any right now, take it easy. This is a sign. Rest is productive. Somebody asked what I am afraid of, but they didn't mean like spiders and ants. They meant like, what am I truly afraid of? And I think that this question is like a scary one to answer, but not in a bad way, just anxiety, you know? And I think what scares me the most is death. And I know some people just, not that they don't care, but like they don't think about it all the time. I'm somebody who thinks about it a lot. My old therapist said it was because I had lost somebody so young that that's why death was just always on my mind. And I think about it all the time. Like if Andrew is going to the store, it pops up into my head that he can get into a car accident and die, right? And this is very morbid, but that is probably my greatest fear, is losing somebody close to me again. Myself dying. I am not a religious person. I really kind of wish I was sometimes, just so that I had something to believe in or to put my faith in. And I feel like over the years, I've become a little bit more spiritual, but I wouldn't really classify myself as religious at this point in time. And so it kind of makes it scarier when I don't know, I don't know what's gonna happen. I classify myself as as agnostic. So I have no idea. And to me, that's really scary. And it could be nothing. And to me, and for some people, nothing could be very peaceful. And for me, it seems just, yeah, terrifying. So my greatest fear is dying, or people I love dying, which again, morbid, but the truth. Somebody asked how to not feel guilty for treating yourself or, buying yourself snacks and things like that. And one of the ways to alleviate that guilt is to practice. If you haven't treated yourself throughout your entire life, or you've put other people before you always, it's not going to come naturally. And treating yourself doesn't necessarily mean spending money on yourself if that's not an option, but it could be taking time for yourself, reading your favorite book, saying no to plans if you don't want to go, and just remaining at home. Little things that put you above others, because it's okay to be selfish. And if people have taught you that it's not okay to be selfish and you should always put other people before you, think about that for a second. Right? How can you be there for other people if you're not even there for yourself? So practice, and also catch those thoughts. So if you're buying something and you're saying, I shouldn't do this, do you not think that you deserve it? And if you don't think that you deserve it, again, go down that rabbit hole of why, and we're probably going to end up with, I don't know. I don't know why I feel this way. And it could be an accumulation of so many different things, of how people have made you feel, of how you've learned to navigate the world that you're in. But just because maybe you've always put other people before you doesn't mean that you have to continue to do so. So if you're watching this and you ask this question, or if you're watching this and you just struggle with treating yourself in general, this is a sign. Go and do something just for you today, and continue to do that every single day. Every single day, whether that's reading just for yourself, whether that's taking a nice long hot shower, anything, but it has to be just for you. Somebody asked how to handle eating more than their partner. This is something that I used to struggle with a lot and something that's actually really common. And first things first, I want us to do something called flipping the script, right? So imagine a couple that you know, right? Would you want one of them to purposefully eat less than the other? Do you think that they should? Every single body is different. We've got different blueprints, different needs when it comes to food. Another question to ask yourself is like, how are you gonna feel if you eat less? Not mentally, but how are you going to feel physically? Because mentally you might congratulate yourself for eating less, but that's not a true thought. That's just a thought that we've sort of watered for many, many years, okay? So if we're actually thinking about it from a physical standpoint, is your stomach still gonna, be asking for food? Are you still gonna be thinking about food? These are all important factors that tie into eating the amount that's right for you. And as I always say, it's a common saying for a reason, right? That comparison is the thief of joy. It truly is. So don't let it steal your thunder. Don't let it do that. However, again, practice and exposure are two things that are gonna help you here. Vocalizing this concern to your partner, which hopefully you should be comfortable doing. And to put it frankly, your partner doesn't care. And if they do, they are not a partner for life, and we kick them to the curb, or we leave, or we do something. Somebody who truly loves you wants you to be well fed, wants you to look after yourself. So let's just think about a couple of these things. Somebody asked if I wanted any tattoos, and I really do, but I'm so indecisive and I don't know what I want. I don't know what I think would look good. I do want a memorial piece for my mom, but I think that that's gonna be quite small. I just don't know. So if you have suggestions, I'm always willing to hear what you think would look good. If there's something that aligns with my channel, a saying that I say all the time, just let a girl know. Somebody asked for a word of advice when it comes to recovery when they're not in a body that's underweight. And this was part of my own journey. When I was recovering, I was not underweight myself, and that's why I was given the diagnosis of atypical anorexia, which is the stupidest fucking diagnosis ever, but I digress. The biggest piece of advice that I can give you is to remind yourself what disordered eating is, right? And disordered eating is a mental illness. It has nothing to do with the physical body. Can there be physical ramifications? Yes, but it is a mental illness, which I think is something that people always forget, especially on the internet. And so remind yourself that just because your body might look one way doesn't mean that you're not sick, doesn't mean that you're not suffering, okay? Try to find a really, really strong support system and vocalize your needs. Vocalize when you are afraid. Vocalize when you feel guilt. Talk to people when you can. If you don't have those kinds of people in your life, leave a comment here. Come to the private Facebook group that's located in the description box down below. You can click that and go to that. It's free to join. But please try to utilize any of the free resources that I have over here, because I know firsthand that the community that we've created is one of the kindest and strongest communities that I've ever seen. And I know we're super small. I know there's 12,000 of us. There's not a lot of us, but it's still so powerful to see the effect that you have on one another. And when I see you helping each other in the comments, it literally makes my heart feel so incredibly warm. So I hope that you feel comfortable at least coming to us if there's nobody else in your life that you feel comfortable talking to. So we're going to do 2 more questions and then we're gonna call it quits because I need to go get a snack because I'm hungry. So the last piece of advice that I'm going to give is pertaining to gentle nutrition. I don't believe I've made a dedicated video to gentle nutrition before, so I will in the future. But what are my top tips for people who are sort of at that stage and ready to jump on board for gentle nutrition? Let's talk about it. The first thing that I want you to do is focus on the big picture. If you're focusing on day to day, you're not going to feel great because every day is not going to be balanced. It's not supposed to work that way. So focus on big picture. The second big tip that I would give, and I know I say this a lot on my channel, but it's so important to me, is to focus on addition. Don't focus on subtraction. Never remove anything, always add, right? Can we drink more water? Maybe to spice up our water, we'll put fruit in it or get a cute water bottle or something like that to sort of entice us to drink more. Maybe we're having our yummy lunch and then we add some fruit or veg on the side, right? It's literally always about addition. Think of that. If you have a favorite smoothie that you make all the time, throw in a handful of spinach. You can't even taste it. And there we go. Variety is probably the biggest piece of advice that I can give too, is just try new things, right? Try some different fruits that you've never tried before. For me, I think I was actually talking to a friend about this recently. I had never tried an artichoke or cooked an artichoke. Well, I tried them jarred and things like that or on pizza, but I had never like tried making it. And so I set a mission for myself. So it was fun, it was exciting. And of course there's also a little bit of like gentle nutrition in there, but never make it your priority for your day. You're gonna make yourself crazy. The last question that I have for today is actually about YouTube, which is kind of fun. And the question is, what made you start YouTube? Oh, I don't know. I'm born in 1996, so I grew up watching a lot of like the old YouTubers, and I always wanted to do that, but I was never secure enough in myself to actually do it. And it's actually crazy to me that people actually want to hear what I have to say and are here for my videos. So thank you if you're one of them. And I guess I didn't really have a particular motivation at first. I definitely wanted to inspire people to step away from diet culture as I continued with my channel. But I think my first couple of videos was when I was still struggling with orthorexia. They've been archived now, so you won't be able to see them. And so I think that there was just a shift in me and a change that wanted to keep going to help people navigate what I had gone through. And I was somebody who used to be really, really hard on myself. And I wanted to teach people that you can be kind, and like kindness is an option. It is. And before I didn't think it was possible. And so I think that that's the main reason. The question also asked if starting YouTube was easy, and yes and no. I think YouTube takes a lot of dedication. The dogs are barking. Tabasco! I live in a zoo. It is easy because I love it, and I feel like when you love something, it can come a little bit more naturally. It's hard to find community on YouTube, especially as a new channel. It just takes a while to build up, you know, any kind of community on your page. And I think your motivation for going into YouTube is so important, because if you're going into YouTube to make money, don't do it. It's not easy money, and it takes so much effort to actually monetize your channel, to get sponsorships, to do everything like that. And like, I can't live off of YouTube, obviously, with only 12,000 followers. And it's not really my goal. If that follower number increases, awesome, that's fun. It's great that we have more people that are feeling inspired and motivated and trying to pursue recovery or intuitive eating. But if you're just going after the money, people are going to be able to tell. It's not going to be authentic. And I say this for like anybody. Some people have sent me messages being like, how much money do you make? Like, I want to go into it too. And it's like, if you want to go into something for the money, YouTube's not it. Like, the top millionaires, billionaires on YouTube is like the tiniest percentage. So maybe we don't aim for that, okay? But do it because you love it. And if you love the idea of creating videos, of editing, of being in front of the camera, because I'm literally talking to myself right now. It doesn't feel like it. It literally feels like I'm talking to somebody else, right? To you. But it also takes some time to get used to that as well. But if you're thinking of starting a channel, do it. There's no risk in it. You can remove your channel if you don't like it. You can stop creating videos, but you're always gonna deal with this what if, what if. So do it. What's the worst thing that can happen? Anyway, I hope you liked this rambly video. I'm always super rambly in my Q&As, but that's just me, and that's okay. But if you do like videos like this, make sure to give me a thumbs up and maybe leave a kind comment down below, because it always makes my day. And I really hope to see you in my next one. Make sure to do something kind for yourself today, okay? Okay. Bye, friends.